Creative Magic Club. What's up? This is Sarah Mack and welcome to Creative Magic Club. Together we'll discover inspirational stories of creative entrepreneurs living out their dreams, doing the work they are most passionate about, and building wealth in magical and fun ways. While building a six-figure income as a writer and coach, helping other women to launch their dream businesses, I've connected with so many incredible people and seen it proven again and again that you can thrive financially doing whatever it is you are passionate about. I'm here to share life-changing strategies for mindset, making money, and reaching more people with your work in a business and life filled with creativity, freedom, and fun. Hi everyone, welcome. I'm so excited to introduce my guest today, Kat Lukock. She's the social entrepreneur coach and impact strategist. She helps social entrepreneurs achieve their vision for social and environmental change by creating more aligned sales. Thank you so much for joining us, Kat.
Oh, thank you so for having me on. I'm so excited to talk with you.
Me too. So let's kick it off by telling me, how did you end up being a coach for social entrepreneurs?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I've always been really lucky throughout my career to run and lead social impact initiatives. So since I left uni, working in the equality and diversity space, and then intercultural and faith relations in communities, community building, and much more recently then in the education field, creating and setting up a social enterprise with my best mate in 2013. And that was a real sort of tipping point for me. So before that, I had worked essentially what people will know as the charity sector and the not-for-profit sector, leading amazing programs, been given amazing opportunities to kind of create social change through the projects that I was leading, and loving kind of program managing and applying for grant funding to secure those different types of projects to sort of resolve different problems. But then I came across, through my friend actually, the idea of social entrepreneurship, which is doing charitable work, I suppose, doing social change, environmental impact work, but through entrepreneurship. So having a business that at its core has social environmental aims and is more focused on those aims than the profit. Like the business isn't set up to create income. I mean, it is set up to create income, but it's not set up for the sole purpose of private gain. And so for me, that was quite exciting because I could see there was a lot of challenges and limitations around the charitable space and being reliant on grant funding, and a lot of dependency in the charitable space around that. And I was quite excited by this opportunity to explore entrepreneurship just about 7 or 8 years ago in my career. And we were basically, me and my best friend, given this amazing opportunity to take over an education program, which we've turned into an award-winning education program that works with about 4,000 teenagers a year across the UK. And essentially it supports and inspires those 11 to 14-year-olds to work in teams to create big sustainable solutions to our greatest sustainability issues that they care most about. So it's a year-long program in secondary schools, and I won't go into all the detail, but through that and through running that organisation and business, I realised that social entrepreneurship is absolutely my thing, my bag, the thing that I wanted to do. But I also then, after about 3 or 4 years of me and Jen running that and growing it and developing it, I decided to step away from that, which was hard because it was my dream job, working with best friend, dream job doing what I loved and leading an organisation. But we were on the road for 4 nights a week, and it wasn't, it was all over the UK, and we couldn't at that point find a role that would really suit how I wanted to also live my personal life. So I stepped away. I'm still involved heavily on the board, but stepped away operationally, but decided, how do I want to share what I've learned over the last 3 or 4 years with the social impact space, with the social enterprise space, as I knew I wanted to stay in there. And as I know you are, Sarah, I'm multi-passionate. I couldn't pick one thing. I couldn't decide. I was thinking about going for other CEO jobs, locally where I live, and kind of going to sort of not-for-profit leadership roles, but I couldn't pick one thing. And so I kept realizing that actually, because I'd already led organizations, I'd set up organizations, I was like, this is what I meant to do, but it doesn't have to be one thing. And I found that maybe working as a coach, maybe providing services and training to others through what I'd learned would be the best way I could kind of meet all those different passions of wanting to help different social issues and tackle environmental problems and allow me to kind of evolve naturally, really. So yeah, I hope that sort of is a bit of a strange route, but it's definitely been.
I love hearing about your background, and yeah, it's so true. I feel like business is it's a perfect pursuit for multi-passionate people, because you get to play so many roles, you get to build so many different skills, and it never gets boring. So that's awesome that you found that. So what is it that you are most passionate about helping your clients with?
So one of the things that me and my friends, and my best friend Jen, who I set up the organisation with, from day one, we were very clear about how social entrepreneurship was different to charities and not-for-profit. And we were really keen to kind of create this trading income, sustainable trading income for the business, which was quite different to what was going on in the space at the time. Because although it's entrepreneurship, there was a lot of still conversation about and reliance on grant funding and kind of fundraising and crowdfunding and securing investment and things like that, rather than having a really strong business model to create change. But that was one of our things, and one of the things we were very successful with. We had quite a different, unique program and successfully sold it to corporates for their involvement in the program as a service, rather than asking them for sponsorship. So traditionally, programs like ours in secondary schools or in education settings, you might get grant funding, but you might also ask for sponsorship from corporates. And we really shifted the way that we thought about that. We didn't want sponsorship. We wanted to build relationships with clients and customers. So that was the first thing. The second thing was we were frustrated that this conversation around being reliant on grant funding continued. And we're like, but it is possible, just shift. Like, for us, it was quite difficult. Like, why don't people just learn how to do sales and shift? We had never, when we started, we had never been in any sales roles before. We'd never sold anything. We'd never worked in a sales environment or corporate setting before, or a business setting, to be honest. We both come from the third sector, the charitable space. But we were determined to figure it out and like make it work. And it frustrated us that other people in the sector, although they said they wanted that and kind of created sustainability, they didn't have that urgency sense. And for me, the issues that social enterprises tackle, or any social impact business, are so important and so urgent. So we're talking about things like they can be global issues like global poverty, malnutrition, health issues, the global pandemic. We can talk about very localized issues in terms of, local deprivation, lack of education, or limited opportunities, issues around discrimination and poor community relations, or any of the environmental issues, from the climate crisis right down to, waste in your local area and etc. So there are so many issues that need to be tackled, and many of them are very urgent. I just felt like we need to speed up the process of making these businesses sustainable with trading income. And I think there's so much more flexibility to having a sustainable trading income than there is waiting for grant funding, applying for grant funding that you may never get.
Oh my God, I love this so much. And I really resonate with this conversation because I lived in Montreal for a while, and it's an amazing place for artists and for creatives because there is a lot of government funding and there's just a lot of money. And so a lot of people genuinely support their careers and their creative projects through applying for grant funding. But when I went through my master's in film, I came up with the same story over and over again of like women's stories not getting greenlit by the bigger studios for, reach to bigger audiences because they're not like the formula that has been proven over and over again. They're different from the status quo. It's more risky. And that really turned me off. I was like, why would I because I know how much time and energy and effort goes into grant applications. And I was like, why would I put all of that energy into asking somebody for permission to do my project when I could just make money in the unlimited ways there are to make money when you take responsibility that for yourself and you just go through that learning curve of like how do I become a powerful communicator? How do I really understand how to speak to the people who I have chosen to help in exchange for, the money that I want for my time and energy?
Yeah.
And it's not that hard. Like, we all innately have, when your mission and vision is driven by passion, that's really all you need for sales, right?
Yeah.
Because your passion drives really powerful communication, and that's the thing that moves people. And that in itself is a skill that creates such an impact. So it's so empowering to have that and to go through that learning process and to get over your, insecurities and limiting beliefs about yourself and about the power and the impact that you're able to make. So I love that you're, having that conversation with people who do really have the potential to make a huge impact. And, don't wait for grant applications, like find a way to make it now. It's so amazing. So what are some of the top blocks that you see come up when you're coaching social entrepreneurs to get good at sales?
Yeah, so building on what you just said, because I totally agree with that. Like, the first thing is recognizing you can generate the income you need and want. You might just need to figure out the way, but it's absolutely possible. So I think working on the mindset and shifting the belief of the possible, or shifting beliefs to that it is possible, and we can figure out how along the way, is really, really key. Because I think there's this real sense of, the way that these types of organizations exist is just through grant funding, fundraising, asking people for money. And it's really interesting, I think, how people people believe there's a difference between asking for money and actually providing sales, which is offering a service. I actually think it's a better, more aligned, sort of ethical way, actually, to sort of be open and honest and say, I'm giving you something of great value to give you these results or transformations. Yes, there's a cost to it. Do you want it? If you don't want it, great. Rather than pretty much, and I hate to say it, but this is how I feel, is begging. I'm doing this amazing work over here. Please, will you give me your money? Please, it's so important work. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I'm all for fundraising. I think it's really, really powerful. However, I think if you're an entrepreneur, which lots of social enterprises say they are, you need to shift. You're not a charity. And I think for me, there's a space for charities and an important role for them. But for social enterprises, we need to be in the mindset of being a business owner and that we have a business model and we know how to create income. So that's often the first thing. For those, and often the people I work with are those people that have often either come from the charity space or are so entrenched in doing work for good, and being paid for it regardless because they've been in employment before. We have to work on, you now have to step into the role of being CEO, founder, business owner, and it's different to being employee, grant funded, etc. So that's kind of the first thing. And then the second thing is really, what is your business strategy? What's the sales strategy? How much? And it's really fascinating. The first step I have to do with all my clients, doesn't matter where they are in their journey, is let's work out what you want to do and how much it's going to cost, because they've never done it. And it always surprises me, because I'm like, what do you mean you've not costed it out, or even attempted to budget how much? It's really fascinating to me how many people are just well, we just need enough to get by, but have never even worked out how much they need, how much that is. They can't give me a figure when I ask them. And so we do this work to kind of let's just get really practical about it. Often there's vagueness and uncomfortableness about talking about this. So I try and kind of face it head on and kind of what are the practical things? What are we trying to achieve? Because when we know what we are trying to achieve, we can actually then think through the practicalities of it. And then it's really kind of, for me, exploring, how do they want to run their business? How do they want to be in their business? How do they want to feel? What do they want it to look like? What don't they want to be doing? So then we can practically work around that to create sales that are aligned to them, and create and set up their business in a way that actually works for them, and their team, if they're planning to create a team, rather than against them.
That's amazing. And, I went through the exact same thing in my relationship with money. Is just total avoidance and not being in the details, not knowing, exactly how much things actually cost in this time, in this lifetime, in this moment. And I mean, it's like coaching in every single area of your life. It's like once you get into the specifics of it, then you have a very clear and tangible action plan to start to make that happen. And there's nothing that you can't make happen when you're clear on, you don't have to be clear on the entire plan, but at least the next step, and then the next step leads to the next step. So I think that's really empowering. And I think another important thing to mention is that sales and making sales and delivering value is a big part of your impact. And you get to express your impact. You get to help the communities that you're passionate about helping by delivering value to them. At the same time, generating money for the bigger impact, for the other ways that you want to make an impact as well. So I'm curious, like, what that balance is like for your clients in terms of, doing the cash generating activities and then using that profit for maybe what would have been like more non-profit type projects.
Yeah, no, really good question. And one I've kind of like, I don't know, it's not my model. I've just kind of come up with this simple way to explain it. But well, it is my model, but I should take ownership of it. But so I think there's kind of like three types of social impact based businesses and the way that they generate income and reinvest it back into their social and environmental mission. So the first would be one that's kind of, it's all encompassing, i.e., and the easiest way to think about this is if their clients are corporates across all three types of business. So if we think about a for-purpose business that's set up purely, their whole purpose is to change, for example, in light of recent things, to change understanding, knowledge and action within businesses and corporates around diversity and inclusion, for example. And I know that's quite a broad statement, but an organisation that's specifically working and wanting to transform culture, attitudes and actions within a corporate in terms of how they express and take action around diversity and inclusion. For me, that organisation, they're selling programs and services to the corporate, and that's their core program, it's their core offering, and it's their core impact. It's kind of one and the same thing. So their services are their social impact. It's all one thing. So that's the first model. The second one is like our Solutions for the Planet, the social enterprise I set up with Jen, is we deliver a program that we sell. We sold it to schools and we sold at a much higher price to corporates, the program, but we communicated the results and the benefits differently to each audience, because of obviously they have different requirements for what they want out of the program. However, it's exactly the same program, and essentially the corporates therefore fund the program, but they also get, through doing that, basically that we're offering a service to meet their needs, but their payment to us for that service funds the social impact initiative with the children, because the schools can't afford at the level of the cost of the program. And then I'm going to forget the third option. But the third option is what, so one of my clients has an organisation she set up to support families of who'd had premature babies, so to support the siblings and the families of premature babies in hospitals, provide support and for siblings so that their parents can kind of be around and support the premature baby at that difficult time. They wanted to provide that service and that counselling for parents for free, which they do. So they then had to think through, okay, they had predominantly been grant funded or funded through NHS contracts and stuff, but they wanted to have a sustainable trading income. So it's like, okay, what other things can you be creating as services to sell to other people to generate the profit that you need to invest to cover the costs of your core mission work? And so I don't know if I explained it very well, but there's these three models, three different ways. You're either, it's core to who you are and it's just your services are your social impact. You maybe have multiple income streams for your program, or your social mission is delivered for free but funded from some other business related activities that you do. So for me, there are three different things, and getting clear on which model a business wants to have is really key to sort of starting the process in terms of, well, then how do we create sales from that?
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And what are some of the key mindset shifts that you really wish more social entrepreneurs knew, that would really, you see helps them to open up to making more impact, making more money and having more success in their sales and their business?
Yeah. So the first thing, I think we've talked about this, like impact can only happen if they're really clear on what they want to create and they know how much realistically it's going to cost to deliver it. Like impact doesn't happen, real transformative impact and change and challenging the status quo doesn't happen from one person working alone and just doing little things here and there. Like to create the change that I know most social entrepreneurs are wanting to create, they need investment and income in their business, right? They need to be able to have a team and build capacity so they can do the great work. And it's so recognizing that and then recognizing it's okay to sell and make money and it's safe to do that. That there's no judgment, it's not breaking the rules, that it's okay to be a for-purpose business and create wealth in the business. That you should be paid well for your work that you do as the employee or the CEO, but profit isn't the wrong thing. The way that we traditionally see businesses use profit is what we feel uncomfortable with, and we can explore and address that, but we don't have to follow those footsteps. We can choose to use profit in different ways, i.e. to invest it into the social cause. And so I think for lots of people, it's getting over that shift of, well, can I earn an income? Is it okay to earn an income? How much? So many people ask me, how much can I earn? How much am I allowed to earn as a social impact business owner? It's like, there's no limit. Like there's no rule. There's nobody saying, yes, you can do this. No, you can't do that. So I think it's knowing that there isn't a limit on that. And that actually we should be putting more value on the individuals leading transformational change than those who aren't, and those who are harming our planet, harming society, harming communities, etc. We need to be responsible and take responsibility for making that shift and saying it's okay to be paid well to do really important work. And then the final mindset shift, I would say, is getting used to the idea of being a salesperson. And I don't mean in the traditional sense, but like I think so many people have a resistance to what sales is and how to sell. They've only ever experienced one type of selling, which is quite, aggressive or persistent or targeted or just not aligned and uncomfortable. And like what you said before, really, we get to define what sales can be. And at the end of the day, it's just building relationships with people. If you have something that people actually want to need, then you should be sharing that with them, because people are looking for those things. And as long as you're willing to be open and honest and transparent and have all those good values built into it, you can create and design how you actually build those relationships and sell in a way that feels right to you. It doesn't have to be anything that you feel uncomfortable with.
This is such a powerful conversation. And I'm just thinking it's like the mindset of investing in ourselves as leaders, because that's what stepping into the position as a CEO really is. It's really taking responsibility for your impact and what's possible, and I'm just thinking like the way that I spend my money is usually on like reinvesting in myself to improve my skills, to improve my health, to, just like improve who I am as a person so I can show up and I have more capacity as an individual to realize the visions that I have, to, follow my desires, to take a stand for my values and to be strong, to be able to do that, because it takes so much strength to like steer a big old ship in a new direction that, has been going on like a destructive path for so long, to be able to, just emotionally stand up to people who think something different and have to constantly reaffirm a new vision for the world that you're really taking a stand for. And I think most social entrepreneurs are the same, it's allowing ourselves to invest in ourselves in that way, because the more that we do that, the more we're able to show up and make more of an impact. And and I think it's also a really powerful money mindset conversation. And, this has definitely been true for me. Like part of the driving force of my, of my business has been to be able to have more creative freedom to put into my projects, to collaborate with people, to support other creatives to get their stories out there.
Yep.
Who, maybe wouldn't necessarily have access to resources or have more barriers to just creating the time and the freedom to be able to do that. And also being able to donate money to causes that I believe in. And those are the things that when I get in my head about, stories about money being bad or worthiness or deservingness around money. Like it's like fuel to the fire of like, no, the more money I have, the more impact I can make. Yeah. And I think it's really powerful to have to, even if you wouldn't consider yourself as like a social entrepreneurship, a social enterprise, to have a bigger vision, whether that's, for your own family or for a wider impact in your community, and to, really connect to that and identify what's possible when you get out of your own way and when you allow yourself to grow and to get bigger and to have access to more resources, which sales is just one of those skills that gives you that power.
Absolutely. And I also think like one thing that came up when you were talking then was you don't have to sacrifice either. Like I feel like there's a lot of a sense of, to do really great work, to change things, to kind of be powerful in the sense of changing the status quo or tackling these and making big paradigm shifts and stuff, or doing great work and being a great leader means I have to sacrifice in other parts of my life. And I'm really passionate about helping us figure out together, like, and I don't say I don't have all the answers, like I'm figuring this out for myself as well, but that life has to be more meaningful than me just choosing one path and me going all in on being a great business leader and like, sacrificing all other aspects of my life for that. That doesn't feel right to me. And I struggled with that for a long time because I was very committed to my career. I was very, what's the word? Like I wanted to progress and like do well and achieve more. And then I realized I'd actually sacrificed lots of other parts of my life, like my relationships with people, friendships, just having fun. And I know this is a big thing for you as well, Sarah, but like there's other parts of my life that I also want to have big visions for and kind of be great at. And I want to find balance across those things. And I believe it's possible. And I also want to help other women find that balance as well. But it's not this thing. I had this conversation with my mum. It's not about necessarily doing it all and being able to do everything, but it is about making those choices and deciding how can I kind of create the boundaries and make the shift. So I've got more of this equal sense of who I am as a whole person, rather than feeling I have to only do one thing really well and sacrifice everything else.
Yeah, totally. It's so powerful. And that's, it is just one of those outdated narratives that you need to be super amazing at one thing and you need to give everything to that thing. And I think that's the conversation that women in business are changing, because they're just simply not available to like sacrifice being a mother or, whatever else that they have going on that's a priority to them. And I think a lot of the time, I guess it's easier for women to be in that conversation than it is for men sometimes, because, generally men haven't been given like parental leave, for example, and that's only starting to now become a conversation. But it's like, that's a pressure that's on men as well to, be so, particularly here in New York, like it's like disgusting the amount that people work and the amount that they're expected to work. And a lot of these careers are literally set up as if there is like a housewife at home who's taking care of the man who's going to work and is the labor that like takes care of their personal life and like their food and their home. And because they don't, my partner works up to 100-hour weeks sometimes, and it's like, it's ridiculous, it's unsustainable, it's insane, and it should never be normal at any point in anybody's career. And it doesn't have to be, it's a conversation that we get to change. And I think that's really cool that, you see so many, women entrepreneurs like you who have a family as well and who are taking a stand for that and are like, you just get to shift your mindset, you shift the conversation, you shift the action and the strategy, and anything's possible in business. You build your team. It doesn't have to cost loads of money to have a team. It's amazing how much you can change when you really shift your mindset and you actually give yourself permission to have everything that you want in the way that you want it, and for it to not be a massive struggle. Like that's just an old paradigm.
Yeah, and when we bring those beliefs into the organization as well, we actually focus on being and doing the things that actually matter and make the difference and create the impact, rather than just doing things for the sake of it, which I think a lot of organizations get into that kind of stuckness really of like, oh, well, we just, loads and loads of processes or heaviness, or this is what we need to do to kind of, and it's just not. Like, I think you can really kind of pinpoint some key things that you do to actually create the change that you want to see.
Oh, so good. I love this conversation. Thank you so much for coming and sharing all of your wisdom. Tell people how they can get in touch with you, what you've got going on, if they're interested in working with you.
Sure, no, and thank you, Sarah, for having me on the podcast. It's been great talking to you too. So people can find me at www.shareimpact.org. That's my website. Or come and find me over on Instagram at Kat Lukock Coaching. I'll spell it because it's not the easiest of names, but it's KatLukock Coaching. And yeah, I'd love to connect with anybody that's really interested in finding either out more about social entrepreneurship, about how you can create social and environmental impact through your business, whether you are a social entrepreneur or not. And if you're looking to kind of get clearer on your making a profit for purpose, then yeah, come and check me out. And I've got some free resources as well that I'll happily share.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
For more inspirational content, head over to my website withsarahmac.com and please support the show by liking, commenting, and subscribing.